Welcome to Inside Tacoma. I'm Elisa O'Hanlon. Today, my guest is Pierce County Auditor, Julie Anderson. Hi, Julie.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Really good to have you on the show.
Yeah, I don't think people know that we're longtime friends, so it's interesting being interviewed by you.
A different role, and you're a veteran in this because this is your 13th season in the auditor's office?
If you count my time, at the city of Tacoma and then Pierce County Auditor, we've done a little bit of programming.
Yeah. So you've been here a number of times.
Yeah.
This is only my third time hosting a show. So I'm pleased to be with a veteran. And I want you to remind us first off, what does the Pierce County Auditor do?
The answer to that joke is I don't audit anything.
Okay.
We're probably best known for elections, running state and local elections for the 550,000 registered voters in Pierce County. Vehicle licensing, so if you have car tabs, I've seen your paperwork. Passports, that's something that a lot of people don't know. We're one of the busiest passport agent offices in the Washington State area. Marriage licensing, and of course recorded documents. So if you've got a mortgage, I've probably seen your paperwork as well. Not me personally, but...
You've seen my paperwork 4 times. I have a mortgage, I've got a marriage license, I've got a passport.
Yeah. The way we like to think about it is we see people at some of the most exciting times, their milestones in their lives, whether it's getting your first car or getting married, getting ready for your first international trip, or maybe sending your son or daughter abroad with passports. So we see people at significant times and see people managing real property that's worth a lot of money. You know, cars are expensive, property is expensive, so being able to preserve a chain of title and prove ownership and pay taxes, that's all through our office. But I'm thinking we're going to probably spending most of our time talking about elections.
It is election season, so I know it's high season and there's a lot of information to get out there and remind people about. So I just want to jump, even though I know you all keep it real in the auditor's office. I did my homework.
Thank you. Alyssa's talking about REAL stands for recording elections, animal services, and licensing, and it says REAL.
But I want to focus on the E. So tell me.
So November 5th is the general election, and it may seem to your viewers like that's a long way off, but we'll be mailing out ballots October the 18th. Military ballots go out September 20th, so a long time ago even. But October 18th, and there's quite a few things that are new and different in the general election. So let's start with, your ballot's gonna look a little strange, nothing to do with us, but the state has 15 measures that will be on the ballot. So 12 of those are gonna be those tax advisory votes that actually have no effect or enforcement, where citizens will be asked to weigh in about whether they thought that their legislators took the right vote on anything that had to do with taxation.
So these are votes that the legislature took in this last session.
The things are already law.
And we all get to say, do we agree with that?
Right, and if you disagree, it's not gonna matter. But anyway, so 12 of those are gonna be tax advisory votes, and then 2 will be other measures. One of them is going to be Referendum 88, which has already been in the news a little bit. So Referendum 88 is requiring that voters vote on Initiative 1000. So people are going to need to break out their schoolhouse rock and do a refresher course on the difference between an initiative and a referendum. The state has some helpful stuff in their voter pamphlet that will help people tease it out. We're expecting a lot of phone calls about does an approve mean yes or does an approve mean no? We can't weigh in, but we will have helpful instructions. Washington state voters haven't had an initiative, Washington state voters haven't had a statewide referendum on their ballot since 2002. So we're a little rusty
Okay.
So
you can't weigh in on whether people should vote no or yes, but you can help us understand what a no or a yes vote means.
And what a referendum is and what an initiative is, and if you're voting approve, what are you approving? So we will walk a very fine line and be very neutral in that, but try to be helpful to citizens. Yeah. So don't wait until the last minute to fill out your ballot because you've got a couple of kind of chunky items and a lot of important candidates. So, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be a long ballot, and I know ballot fatigue is always something. I'm a regular voter, but even when I sit down at my kitchen table, I look at the number of things to vote on and to be educated on, and so when I put it off until Monday night, then I stress about trying to understand all these things when I'm tired. So it's really good to start some days before.
Right, and I don't want to scare people off. It's not going to be too arduous.
Sure.
But also, here's a tip for people with fatigue: when you open up your ballot and you see that list of measures, and you know it's not the friendliest language, that ballot title stuff. It's a lot of legalese. Just know that you don't have to vote on everything on your ballot.
Okay.
You can pick and choose. If what you are really passionate about is a city council race, for example, you can skip right down and vote on that. Not telling people to skip items, but you don't have to vote on everything, especially if you don't feel like you have time to do the proper research. You can skip things.
Perfect. And you all are accessible to be able to guide people through questions that they have. How do people reach out to you? And
the very best way is through our website. You can just elections, Pierce County Elections.org, or me. My address is on the screen, or 253-798-VOTE.
253-798-VOTE.
We're great about answering our phones and returning calls. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. That's another thing I like to tell voters. Even though it says in 32-point font on your envelope what election day is, if you want to know when's election day, just call us. We're not going to laugh. We're going to be happy that you called. Because lots of people actually miss that deadline. I mean, that wasn't really a joke. We've started putting in very, very large font on the envelope exactly when election day is. An astonishing number of people submit their ballots too late to count. That makes us cry. Because somebody took the time and the effort to register, to vote, and to return it to us, but they missed the darn deadline. In the last November election of 2018, 1,482 people submitted ballots that were too late to count. And don't let that be you.
Yeah. And margins sometimes are very small.
Very well, sure. In the primary of August, we had 2 recounts, 2 hand recounts. So 2 races, so incredibly close. We had to hand recount votes. And we didn't have that many, but we had hundreds of people submit ballots too late to count. Those could have been difference makers. So people, you've got to, if you're going to return your ballot by mail, and by the way, no postage.
Okay.
You never need a stamp to vote in Washington State anymore, never. So if you're going to use the Postal Service, and we've seen an uptick on that since we started picking up the tab for postage, if you're going to use the Postal Service, make sure you put that in the mail stream Friday before the Tuesday, so 4 days before the election, just in case something happens and the mail gets returned to you or something like that. It's a human process. Or it gets delayed. You want to make sure that you mail the Friday before the Tuesday to make sure that you get that postal cancellation stamp.
Okay.
And if there's any problems with delivery, you have a chance to correct the situation. If you're using a drop box, we lock all 54 drop boxes at 8 o'clock, like an atomic clock. So if you are coming by at 3 minutes past 8, we've already locked the box.
Okay, all right. So I gave you the scenario a second ago where I might wait till Monday night. I should not wait till Monday night unless I plan to drop it off.
At a box.
At a box.
Thank you.
But I'd
a
even
ballot
be
drop box.
better advised to, as soon as I receive my ballot, which would be somewhere around October 18th, than to sit down.
Take the weekend. What else? It's going to be the rainy weekend in October. So just, slip on your jammies and get an extra cup of coffee. Just vote right through those 12 tax advisory votes and get into the great local candidates that we have that are going to be making significant decisions that are going to impact your family, your schools, your fire service, local taxation.
Well, maybe my family's a little unusual, but we do gather around. My 19-year-old, her first general election was last year. So we sit and we talk, maybe with a cup of coffee or a margarita. Different times of day. And we talk about what we read about in the voters pamphlet. That's a real important resource.
It is. Pierce County is one of the few counties that actually prints and delivers a voter pamphlet. And by the way, we don't just deliver that pamphlet to registered voters. It's economical for us and it's good outreach. We just household every residential address in Pierce County. And if for some reason you can't find it, you can always go to a library and get a voter pamphlet if you need a backup. And speaking of libraries, can I cover some important breaking news?
Please.
All right. In 2018, the legislature passed a trio of new election laws, and the most significant of them is called same-day registration.
Okay.
It means that there is no longer a 28-day cutoff for registering to vote. So it used to be you needed to get your affairs in order 28 days before the election. For some good reasons. And if you didn't do that, you had to come in person and there was an 8-day cutoff. Forget all of that. There really is no deadline anymore. So if you have, whether you have just relocated to this city or this county, maybe from King County, or if you are a brand new voter, maybe you just turned 18 or you're new to the area, or you've just been unengaged and you want to get engaged. Regardless of your circumstances, you can walk in to the election center right up until 8 o'clock on election day, register for the first time and vote. And you won't be voting a provisional ballot. You will be issued your ballot and that vote will be counted.
Wow.
We don't have time for me to talk about the tricky ins and outs and the technology and the staffing and the rules and procedures that make that possible, but it is the law of the land. And I like to tell people just because you can doesn't mean you should. So just because you can do that right up until closing on election night doesn't mean that you should. We are a vote at home state, which means what I really want you to do is register in time. 8 days before the election would be good, where I can mail you a ballot. You can vote at home and then return it either through the postal stream or a ballot drop box.
Great.
But if an emergency happens, we're not going to turn you away and right up until election day. So I started off on that riff because of libraries. We have a great partnership with Pierce County and City of Tacoma libraries. I actually hope that you'll have them on the show. So the Tacoma Public Libraries, their branches, and Pierce County Rural Library System branches, and Puyallup Library. So all 3 library systems, that's a total of 27 library branches, are our partners on Election Day. So that on Election Day, if you're having that emergency, you haven't registered to vote, you want to vote, or you lost your ballot and you need a replacement and you don't have the wherewithal to drive to my office to get a replacement.
If my dog ate my ballot.
Or you can generate your own replacement ballots on the new voter registration portal, votewa.gov. You don't even have to come into our office, but how many people have ink? How many people have printers anymore? I think everybody does work on their phones, and fewer and fewer people have fax machine scanners and printers in their homes. So regardless, if you need a replacement ballot, you need to register to vote, or you need to reference a voter pamphlet and you can't find one at your house, make your way to your local library branch and they will be able to help you. They can help you access the online registration portal, where you can look up your voting record, you can update your address, you can issue yourself a replacement ballot, and the libraries have graciously agreed to not charge for any printing, and they can also help you navigate. So points of assistance is what those libraries are called on Election Day.
Okay.
Very importantly, they are not polling places. They are simply points of assistance.
Okay.
And the librarians aren't, and the library staff are there to be helpful concierges, if you will.
Okay.
But they're not actually doing the registration, and they're not issuing ballots. We are.
Okay.
They're basically picking up the phone and we're pushing it through to them.
Okay.
So all of the authentication, the background checks, making sure that only one ballot is issued to one person at the correct address, that's still all election administrators and technology behind the scene. The library staff are just kind of like front office staff.
Okay. Okay.
So that there's reduced cost to voters to participate at the last minute. Reduced cost meaning you don't have to find a car, get in a car, and drive to us at the last minute. You can go to a friendly, accessible, skilled neighborhood library branch. So hats off, Georgia Lomax and Kate Larson, two library leaders, Patty, have just been wonderful.
Fantastic. So that's on Election Day. I can go to these libraries, these points of assistance.
Yeah.
How about today? Could I walk into one of the libraries?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They would love to see you.
Okay.
So they're all familiar. We did this, we tested this in the primary, so they are all trained up and very familiar. They'd guide you over to one of the computer systems, show you how to get onto votewa.gov.
Nice.
So you could double check, when is my ballot coming? Do they have my address correct? Oh, I better update my address, all that other stuff.
And so if I'm sitting at home right now, even with my computer open, I can go in?
I would encourage you to please. We want voters more to manage their own voting records. You can't manage somebody else's. So if there's somebody that is deceased in your home or a college student has moved away, you can't update their records.
Okay.
That's one of the wonderful due process features about Washington State. But you can control your own record.
Okay.
So if you've had a name change or you are changing your address, then you can manage that yourself at votewa.gov.
Okay.
And as the election gets closer, if you misplace a ballot and you need a replacement ballot, you can generate your own replacement ballot. If that freaks you out, no problem. Just call us, 253-798-VOTE, and we'll mail you a nice fresh ballot directly from the election center as a replacement.
Yeah, and for any reason, I know I've messed up my ballot before, marking something I didn't mean to mark, and then I try and correct it per the instructions on the ballot, and I still mess it up. And
yeah, we're really pretty good about voter instructions, so if you do need to make a correction, just follow the instructions, strike through the entire choice, remark the ballot. If you feel like you need to write us a little note on the ballot, go right ahead. With our upgrades in technology, that doesn't create the problems that used to in the past.
Good.
Or just ask for a replacement ballot. We're happy to do that as well.
It feels like voting is so much more accessible these days, particularly in this county.
Holy cow.
Thank you.
Well, I think in Washington State, but there are some special things about Pierce County. The points of assistance and using library branches on Election Day, that's a game changer. And this is breaking news for your audience today. We are going to be translating ballot materials and voter pamphlets into minority languages for our voters and citizens whose primary language is not English. It'll be translated into Spanish, Korean, and Vietnamese starting with the November election. Now here's the deal, and here's what makes that affordable and feasible for us. We're not going to be printing 550,000 ballots and envelopes in 4 different languages. We're not doing that. But votewa.gov, the online portal where you can see and print out your own ballot, you can see and print out your own voter pamphlet, digitally, those will be translated into those 4 languages, so people can self-serve.
Nice.
And if they need that extra language aid, they can do that on their own using votewa.gov. So we're doing the translation service and making sure that it's uploaded, but we're not incurring all of those printing and mailing charges for a service that may or may not be used very much. So it's an economical way of providing extra access. And certainly to be a citizen and to be able to register to vote, you have to be a citizen, and to be a citizen, with few exceptions, you have to be able to speak English. But remember those advisory votes that we were talking about a little earlier, and remember referendum 88 and how confusing that's going to be? People that are highly proficient and only speak English are going to have trouble navigating that. People whose English is a second language really could use a little extra help on issues like that, and we're happy to provide the translation.
So I imagine over the years you've seen an increase in people asking for assistance. And
well, what we know is that 11.4% of the households in Pierce County are foreign-born.
Okay.
That's a significant chunk of people that weren't born in the United States and who have taken the time to become citizens and want to get registered. And we don't hear from them so much because they don't think that we'll be able to help them. You know, this is really a first in Washington State, where we're not being told by the Department of Justice that I must do this. This is something that we're voluntarily offering to do to help probably some of the most patriotic people among us, people who immigrate to this country, become nationalized, and want to vote. Who wouldn't want to help people that go to those extreme lengths to be part of our country and part of our democracy, right? And it costs relatively little for us to do this, thanks in part to the new technology, the online self-service in the state of Washington. So votewa.gov is a new statewide voter registration system that allows us to do this affordably. There are so many things, Alyssa, going on. What else did I have to tell you?
Well, I think we want to make sure we remind people about what they need to be attentive to make sure that their vote counts. I mean, I just am reminded again about, you said 1,482 people, their votes were missed last election. Yeah,
because they missed the deadline. That kills us. So deadline is number one. Make sure that if you're going to use the U.S. Postal Service, do that 4 days before the election, just to mitigate any kind of mishaps. It's a human process. You don't need a stamp. The very best thing is use one of our 54 drop boxes. By the way, you're going to be saving taxpayer dollars by doing that, because we only get charged the prepaid postage for ballots returned through the U.S. postal system. So you could actually save us close to 45 cents by using one of our 54 drop boxes. Just look online for the nearest drop box. Those close exactly at 8 o'clock. You either need to be in line or you have to beat that 8 o'clock deadline on election night. And there's no excuse for like getting in a traffic jam. We don't wait. We close it. The other thing is signatures. So in a vote by mail environment, we still need your signature on that outer envelope. Occasionally, maybe you're driving up to the ballot drop box at the last minute and you're signing it on your knee upside down, or you have your toddler sign it. Who does that? Somebody. It's not going to match your voter registration signature. So the election is not over on election day. Make sure you watch your mail and listen to voicemails on your home phone, and monitor text messaging. Because if your signature doesn't match, we're going to reach out and contact you and ask you to cure the signature, or if you forgot to sign it. It's really important. We can't.
So you actually do match every signature?
Yes.
How many volunteers do you have that are counting ballots?
We do not use volunteers in elections. So we have professional employees who are trained by the Washington State Patrol Fraud Division on signature verification. There's a science to it. So they have to go through that class. There are our regular election workers, and we check every single ballot that comes to us. So, 300,000 ballots will verify, and maybe 5% of those maybe forgot to sign, or it's a mismatched signature. Washington State is great. We're not going to toss those ballots out, but we're also not going to open them until the situation is corrected.
Okay.
And fewer than 1% of ballots get rejected. So people are pretty good about responding because we make it easy. If you get one of those mismatched signature letters or missing signature letters, don't just say, oh, I can't do that, that's too hard. Don't do that. Read the letter because it tells you all you have to do is sign it and return it to us, and we even give you a postage paid envelope.
I wanted to ask you like some of the most exciting stories that have come out of your 13 years in the auditor's office.
Well, 10 years in auditor's office.
Oh, okay.
Exciting stories. There are.
I'm just curious because it feels like, counting ballots. What?
Oh.
What does that look like?
You're killing me. The things that continue to kind of fuel my passion and excitement for the job and why I love this work so much are the continuous improvements that we make in every single division in the office. And it would be hard for me to explain all those changes without getting into geek speak, but instant returns on recorded documents, where you no longer record something with us, we collect your money, and then a couple of weeks later you get the originals back in the mail. Hell, yesterday.
Okay.
No, you come in and you record your document, we scan it in front of you, we receipt it, and we give you the originals back while you're standing there. That required technology, it required workaround processes. That's just one example in recording. There's a lot of others. We're winning in a national award. I think it'll be public. I think it'll be public by the time this show airs. Our recording division is receiving national recognition and is actually at a reception right now with the county executive for the work that they did on restrictive covenants, which is discriminatory, mostly racialized, discriminatory recorded documents from back in the day in the 40s and 50s, helping neighborhoods get those corrected.
Okay.
It's no small thing. So.
But a national award, that's important.
It is.
And I think as a taxpayer, as one who funds the work that you do, it's satisfying to me, and I'm proud to know that you're making those kinds of improvements, always attentive to streamlining.
Always faster, more accurate, more efficient. That's what we're always striving for. And putting more control in citizens' hands, self-service, whether it's elections or whether it's vehicle licensing. We are always trying to treat citizens like customers.
Okay.
And we know that the world is changing, and as a customer you have high demands on retail and all your other experiences. Government doesn't need. We want to model that on-demand, self-service, accuracy and efficiency, convenience as much as possible in all of our divisions. But here's the thing, and here's what makes the work so exciting. We want that kind of retail concierge experience without any decrease in integrity, accountability, or accuracy. That's where we're not. That's where we're not like Amazon.
Okay, better. Well, Julie, our time is up. I want to thank you so much for making my third show a real treat, and thank you for the work that you do for our elections here in Pierce County.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. My
guest has been Pierce County Auditor Julie Anderson. I'm Elisa O'Hanlon. Thank you for tuning in. Please join us again on Inside Tacoma.